Hi everyone, welcome back. Let's dive right back into the series on my end of year thoughts for our first grade picks. And let's focus in this video on what we thought of our art and kind of extra STEAM stuff. You are going to see something missing, and that is the Home Art Studio DVD. And that is because we got thrown into having to have a bunch of occupational therapy this year that I didn't anticipate for when I made the schedules for first grade, we ended up having to throw out lots of our time slots for first grade's art. And we are just now like having an art intensive in our house. It's like art camp up in here. We're doing like 4 or 5 projects a day. I will do a separate video on the Home Art Studio curriculum for first grade once we finish our art projects. But so far we are about 7 or 8 projects into the DVD, and we are still loving the Home Art Studio for first grade. Moving on, these are just not necessarily full-on art curriculum, but ways to encourage critical thinking and move on. You can see we're still kind of behind on some of this cutting paper practice. You could do this with a younger age if you needed to. I am doing it with my daughter because, again, we are in occupational therapy. We have some motor skill issues that we are working through. And so the extra cutting practice that this brings is great. The way we have her do it is I started this year, when we did this book did one of these let's cut paper books in kindergarten. The problem we had with it is that she would cut it out and then we wouldn't have anything to do with it. And she wouldn't let me throw away the paper that she just worked so hard to cut out. I can understand that. But it was just cluttering everything. And so what I ended up deciding to do for first grade, and this kind of snuck in a little extra fine motor practice by making her have to use the glue as well, is once she cut out the page from here, she would then go through and she would glue it to her cutting notebook. And then she would write the date and the week up top. And so that way she got the extra practice. And we actually snuck in a little handwriting there too. And if it wasn't perfect, it didn't matter because she was still practicing it and she was getting it. And it's all about, this isn't like about perfection. This is just about having a fun like picture to like work with and glue down. And so we really like this method of like having a book to cut. And that way it's all kind of concrete in one spot. And it really kind of helps with that. I will be having her over now that we're into summer mode, working through the rest of this and finishing it up because we really do need to get through it because we are only in 20 of, I think there's 48. So I think we're barely halfway through. Let's see. 40. So we're halfway through. We're halfway through it. We will finish it. There is another one that we will be doing for next year. This says for 2 and up. If your 2-year-old is really super good at fine motor skills, maybe. I would say this is pretty challenging for a 2-year-old. I would say pre-K at the earliest. But I'm also judging off of my child with some sensory processing disorder issues and some fine motor skills because of that. So you know your kid. Do not feel panicked if your kid is going on 7 and using a book for 2 and up. It's fine. One thing that you will recognize this from the kindergarten curriculum picks videos, and then that I dropped it in kindergarten and we brought it back for first grade. We really liked this at the first grade level. Now that we kind of have worked through some of our fine motor things, and it really kind of helps her to work through some of that critical thinking stuff. There were a lot of pages in here that her occupational therapist was very happy that we were incorporated in. And so it was a really nice, fun way to kind of introduce patterns and to, this is from kindergarten. It was a really fun way to kind of introduce patterns and how to use patterns. And she, by the end of it started out as something that was like really hard for her. By the end, she really started kind of getting into it. It was one of those books that really kind of taught me that it's okay to set a book aside and bring it back later, or not bring it back at all. But we definitely made the right call in kindergarten to set it aside then and to bring it back now. Lastly, we've got the Purple Doodles book. As you can see, because it's such a thick book, we are not quite all the way through it. We still have just a few pages. This is another book. This is another book where we were able to sneak some extra. My daughter loves it, and we were able to sneak some extra occupational therapy stuff in with her, which really made for some great extra stuff. And it really brought out some like creativity in her. She's really starting to blossom with using it, and she really enjoys it. We have two of the other doodle books that we will be letting her choose from once she finishes this one. And it's just another great one. If your kid likes the Pinkalicious series and enjoys using this, I strongly suggest this as your doodle creative thinking kind of encouragement piece of curriculum. Another thing I liked about it is that it sneaks in bits about art concepts here and there. It's certainly not all the way through it, but you do get pieces of like discussion about what abstract art means and stuff like that. And it's really, really cool for that. So that is the last of our art and kind of extras. The only other thing we worked on this year is Spanish, and because of the occupational therapy, we also ended up having to drop that somewhat as well. But we will be bringing that back, and we did get further into it, and we do enjoy it and do recommend it. Keep following along. I always post on Wednesdays, and occasionally you will find bonus videos on Fridays. And tune in next time to keep following along. If you want to see the other aspects of our first grade end of year series, you can check out the link below in the description for the playlist. And thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time. Bye.